We have some extra copies of the town and school report. Board members, I believe, have them now. There's some more copies here if you'd like to take those with. Music in Our Schools month, so I proudly, Ms. Sanborn gave me my pin to wear for March. And we have another student recognition that we'll be doing in greater detail at our April meeting, because it was only this weekend that our Guilford High School robotics team captured first place in the New Hampshire Championship. We've spoken with their mentors, and we hope to have a full display for you of their robot, which they did present to the leadership team before their competition. And I know we've got a few members of the team here. Anybody like to have a word? Since you're here off the cuff? Killian, you're the most senior member, aren't you?
Me and Emily.
Yeah.
Emily?
Stand up. Tell them your name. Tell them your name, what grade you're in.
I'm Emily Arnold, and I'm a third year on the team. I'm a junior at Guilford High School now, and I am what is considered the NEMO captain, or non-engineering mentor organization. So I have a mentor, Jackie Druver, who works over me, and then I am the student business type person, so I talk to all of our sponsors. So now it's great that we've won, but for me it means fundraising, fundraising, fundraising. So any help that anybody can give us. Yes, thanks. Yeah, so any questions?
Yeah, I just have a question. Do you want the check made out to the high school? How do we make a donation to support you?
The high school.
High school?
Yeah.
We'll get it to the high school.
I met with the mentors, the leaders today, and we talked about a few strategies, and we'll have a full plan for you soon as to what we can do to support this effort. They're going to St. Louis, April 25th. It's going to be in the neighborhood of plus it's $5,000 entry fee for the national event. So we're talking the neighborhood of over $20,000 would need to be raised for whatever number of the 17 members of this team are going to be participating.
Yes.
So we're working on it.
Yeah. In years past, the competition that we are now headed for has been referred to as nationals, but it can really be described now as worlds, as there are regionals in Europe, and especially Israel has tons of teams that were there last year as well. So it's truly spreading worldwide, and it's amazing that we get to go.
I would like somebody from the team to contact me for a couple of reasons. One, I'd like to have you come. Guilford Rotary has been supporting the team since the very beginning, so it'd be good to have you come and talk, to make a presentation to us. But if you need more money, which evidently you do,
yes,
then the Guilford Rotary can probably help out in that too. So somebody from the team needs to contact me.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
Can do. Okay.
I'll volunteer. I'm her mother, I think.
All right. Next piece of good news in the superintendent's report. I'm pleased to report that our search for our elementary school principal has been completed, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce our new Guilford Elementary School principal, Danielle Bolduck, who's here with us tonight. Signed copy of your contract right here.
Too late to bow out now.
Strategic plan revision is ongoing. As you know, we've been working on this for a number of months. Subcommittees have been established and have structured, working to structure their SMART goals with 4 major areas in the revised plan. That largest area, obviously, student learning, families, community and communication, facilities and safety, and resource management. And these subcommittees were established after the surveys and work that we've done in gaining input from the community, both online and through traditional paper survey. Over 30 members have participated, are in this process now, and we'd like that to be more. We had 60, 70 online responses to the survey. The strategic planning website is on a link from the main page, and we encourage you to participate and contact me in any way you'd like to continue. Guilford School District appropriations. Concerns were raised at the petition warrant article public hearing about the increases in school spending over the past 5 years. The Budget Committee and the Board approved a total increase of 1.92%, or $454,000 over that time. That was from 2008-9, when the general fund budget was $23,688,571, to the proposed budget for next year of $24,142,615. This includes over $3 million in fixed costs that in benefits and state retirement and other changes that have happened during that time. So I think we just want to be real clear and make sure we got the right figures before the public in terms of what that increase has been. So that's $454,000 over the past 5 years.
And really, when you've got $3 million in increases that we had no control over in health cost, health insurance, dental insurance, fuel costs, all that stuff, it means that there's really been savings. And it's interesting, I don't know how many people saw the Sunday Union Leader, because they had, the headline was talking about that the declining student enrollment is a statewide phenomena. And statewide, the vast majority of the school districts are facing declining enrollment, and the article goes on to discuss in some detail how even with declining enrollment does not necessarily mean decrease in budgets, because of partly because of all the increases that we've talked about in health insurance, dental insurance, fuel costs, things like that. But then also, you know, if you lose a couple of students from each grade, you can't necessarily get rid of a teacher. Okay, so I would recommend people read that article, because I thought it was an excellent discussion of the challenges that are facing not only the Guilford School District, but school districts throughout the state. Thank you, Ken.
Okay, one more piece. And I want to get this back. Doug, pardon me. Did you get a message I left for you this afternoon? Okay, I'm sorry, I just want to get you this. What I've added to your packet was a response to the concern that was brought to my attention last week about interpretations of public employees in election year. And I've had a chance today to talk to Gordon Graham, our district attorney, who's consulted with an assistant state attorney general. And I just want to report to the board on what I found today and answer any questions you may have regarding that. Last week I received a concern about positions that the board has taken that I have communicated in the community about the position on the warrant articles to be voted on next week. Was referred to in RSA 659, which I've included for you, on what electioneering includes and what it involves. And the first sentence of that identifies no public employee as defined in RSA 275A19. So we've looked to RSA 273A19, and if you'll take a look there, you'll see that it refers to a public employee, meaning any person employed by a public employer except, and there are 4 conditions of exceptions here. The one that we think, at least Attorney Graham and the Attorney General from the state thinks applies here is Section B. Persons appointed to office by the chief executive or legislative body of the public employer. And that would be the public employer defined up in Section 2 as the school board above. So according to Attorney Graham, the superintendents represent the position of the school board. And in this case, as we have a unanimous decision of the school board, the assumption that I think we've all been working under as we work through the statement that you approved was that my role as superintendent was to communicate that. If you have questions about that or anything that needs to be clarified, I'm certainly willing to address that and look further if I need to gain more information.
You said this was the interpretation not only of
our attorney and
but also
assistant state attorney general.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to reports. And at the beginning of this year, I was going to try to be organized and rotate the reports in a systematic manner, and I've totally failed at that. But I know one thing I've never done. I've never started with the student council. Okay, so student council, you get to go first this time.
All right. We don't have much to report because we haven't really had a meeting since last school board, but we did have candidates night, which went off very well in our opinion, and everything seemed calm and orderly, so that was good. And we're having a meeting this week to plan future activities for the student body.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'd also like to publicly thank the student council for putting on the candidates night. I agree that it also went very well, and it's a valuable public service that you guys are doing there. So thank you very much for that. Okay, Cara, let's start with the elementary school.
Thank you, Kurt. I wish to submit my brief report as written, and be happy to address any questions or concerns regarding that. I do have a couple of things that came up today that I'd like to also share and update you on. We're beginning as spring is rapidly approaching, and we come into some of the transition things that will be happening through the end of the school year. There are some dates that regarding kindergarten that are different for those students that just wanted to bring to your attention. Our kindergarten students will not be in school on April 30th and May 1st, which is the Monday and Tuesday after April vacation, and that has always been the case when that's when they do their screenings. So those dates have been set. That information will be communicated to parents weekly in newsletters, as well as on our website and communicated on our calendar, so parents will be well informed of that upcoming date. Also, the tentative last day of school is June 8th for kindergartners, which right now is the week before school, week dates for the rest of us. And again, that is the traditional process so that they can have students come in and get ready for next year as part of their transition process into kindergarten. So those are some dates that I just wanted to share with you. Also on our enrollments, again, we continue through our fluctuations. We do have a new second grade student joining our population this week. They came in today to register, so probably by Wednesday they'll be starting in second grade, so we'll have an additional student there. That continues to stay somewhat consistent overall, but some up and down movement within our school community. And I'd also like to thank our fourth grade team and our students who came tonight. They really did a nice job. The showing and the presentation of their projects was really a quality demonstration of student learning, so that was a great thing to have. And it's nice to have an opportunity for elementary kids to share at this level, because it's not always easy to do that. So thank you, Ken, for inviting them and taking care of that. If there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you, Cara. Anybody, any questions for Cara?
Great, thank you.
I kind of hesitate to talk about the end of school. We always have the issue with snow days, and you think right now it's not going to be an issue this year, but Murphy being alive and well will probably get dumped on in April after Gunstock closes. Well, yeah. But right now, I don't think we're going to have any issues with snow days as of today. Would that be a correct statement?
I'm sorry, Chairman Weber, I will not give you a response there. We've had flood days, emergency days. I've seen enough in my time.
Okay. So, nothing else for Cara? Okay. Marcia.
Thank you. I'd like to submit my report as written, and I'd also like to share an update on a piece of information, and then be happy to answer any of your questions. I wanted to update you on a trip that was made for our music students. One of the things that our music teachers are trying to do is to add more performance for kids, and we practice at home, and we do all these things, but performance is really what the music is all about. It's that rare person that really prefers to do that alone. So our kids, 102 of our middle school students performed at the Monarchs hockey game yesterday.
Wow.
They played the Star Spangled Banner and God Bless America. They actually played that on the Friday before vacation for the entire school as part of their dress rehearsal, which was really wonderful. 80 plus brought family and friends for a total of 293 people from Guilford in the stands at the Monarchs yesterday. The word is that they were incredibly well behaved. Our kids are really getting some very positive feedback in these public kind of venues, which is really lovely for their parents and everyone else involved in their lives. 34 students returned via bus. Most of the kids were brought home by their families. You went on the trip with the school, and then you could return with your family. The parents, that were there, of course, were very engaged in the process and enjoyed being there. And we had a few little glitches, but they all seemed to get worked out. One of the glitches was that they have Chuck-a-Puck, and you can throw the puck and try to win something. And of course, the kids bought the pucks, and the Chuck-a-Puck was right when they were supposed to be performing, which for middle school students really put the performance over here, and the chucking of the puck became much more important. And so Paul did say that he could report that all of the parents there were volunteering to throw the pucks for the kids so they would not lose out on their opportunity. You know, so that's the great thing about when kids this age to something, they are always young kids and as well prepared and as well behaved. The whole music idea moved aside for the idea they could throw that puck and maybe win something. So anyway, so I'm really very pleased to tell you that, you know, share that with you and be able to share with you. It's really the idea of helping our kids to grow their desire to play music by giving them a broader venue to play. So I think
This was a combination of the band and the chorus?
Yep, yep. Yeah, and very amazingly, on the Sunday at the end of the vacation, 102 students.
That's significant.
Isn't that great? Yeah. So Paul was pretty excited today to say, look, I made you a report and it's really good. Yeah. So the glitches were worked out and, you know, it was a successful trip. So. And then I would be happy to answer any questions on the rest of our report.
Any questions for Marcia? I have two. One, could you mentioned Anthony Sparazzo conducting the grade level monthly meetings. Could you discuss that a little bit more? I'm kind of interested in that.
Yes. You know, one of the most important things that we're trying to do is to build a school culture. And a lot of times we are talking adult to adult, and we think we're clearly communicating with our students, and we may not be. So one of the things that Anthony wanted to do this year was to begin a process for monthly meetings. And, you know, a solid principal welcomes any really good idea. And I said, well, of course you can do that. That sounds great. Let's do that. So he's really taken that on. He's picked pertinent topics that are related to the work that we're doing in the school, things that are important to the school and to kids, and drawing that thread through the meetings. So if you enter the meeting, you're a student in 6th grade, there often are prompts on the table, and the prompt today was a bar graph of reports of students being mean to one another, and the data on that by grade level, either up or down, so the kids could look at the data, and the kids could talk about the data, and he could continue to reinforce with them the fact that in our school we are working to keep that as at a low level as possible, that that's an important part of our culture. And so that would be a good example. He also today debriefed the lockdown with the kids, which is really a wonderful thing to do. Why do we have the lockdown? What happened for you during the lockdown? Kids were able to share whether they were made nervous by it or whether they felt really good about it. They were able to ask questions. The great question of, well, what if you're in the bathroom? Which is a really important question to ask. Where do you go? Because their logical thing is to go back to their classroom, and that may not be the logical place to go due to the location of the bathrooms and where their class is. So the topics have varied, but they're all focused on that resourceful, responsible, respectful, confident learner. You know, you build these cultural things a year at a time, and something you start with 5th graders in a year that they've never been in your school before. They just think that that's what you're supposed to do. And so that's what we're doing, and we will continue that in some fashion next year, and before we morph it into something else, because you can usually only do something for so long, but the idea that we have that vehicle, it's been very positive.
How long does the session last?
About 20 minutes.
And is it just Anthony With
talking.
80 kids by himself?
Well, actually, Anthony with 80 students by himself could be really wonderful. He's done a great job with that. But we did decide to tell teachers that we felt some grade levels were always coming, and we did tell the teachers that we felt it would be really helpful to have them all there so they could be hearing even the kids' questions. When you hear someone in your grade level ask that question about maybe something they're afraid of in the lockdown, then it adds to your sensitivity. So we decided to ask all teachers to attend, and we had great attendance today. We've also repaired the wireless mic system in the cafeteria, so now not only can someone talk with you, but you can actually hear them. You know, so there's been a lot of positives that have come out of that, including the fact that it is an opportunity to say to kids, you need to go home and tell your families that this is important in your school. You know it's important because you were there and you heard it.
Was there any discussion, and I know that it was an older child, but was there any discussion about the shooting in the school before vacation out in the Midwest? Was it Ohio?
Ohio.
No.
No.
No. We tend to talk more about incidents and safety, and to my knowledge, there was no question asked today about that. But that would make sense with the temporary nature for kids. You know, that
That's over a week
72
ago.
hours tends to be the period of time unless there's a lot of talk about it. But the neat thing is that the kids ask really good questions when they know that it's a venue where really the expectation is you can ask questions.
Well, and that's why I wonder, some kids bottle that stuff up, and there's a perfect opportunity for them to vent.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably what we would do in that case. If we thought somebody was really nervous, we would then highlight that, and we would point that out to a counselor and have a counselor or a teacher approach them. We probably would not do a lot of that in that public scene in front of all your peers at your grade level, because it's that large group. But it is a great opportunity for us to kind of, if one is watching and one is talking, or one is talking and 10 are watching, we can be seeing the students and checking for that kind of thing. They were pretty good today after vacation, so they tended not to bring up a lot of things like that they might have even brought up before the vacation.
I think that's an excellent idea. One other quick question. You mentioned light wireless coverage.
Yeah, I knew that would interest you. As described by Brenda McGee, we have what's called light coverage. We've had no coverage, and so it's really exciting. We're continuing to grow that. But you really could not in any of those areas be guaranteed to run 24 devices in a classroom. You could have 4 groups of students sharing something and probably have good coverage in many of the classrooms, and we'll continue to work on it. It's really very, very exciting that we've been able to do that coverage for really next to nothing compared to what we were originally quoted for. And so now each of the academic areas, the library was already, but each of the academic areas, the office area, so you could have a group in the conference room, and you could bring students to the conference room and be sitting there at the table. And our next plan is to move further into the big reading room on the second floor. And also, I am very, very interested in the cafeteria as a multi-use space. I mean, with the mic working and then adding that, we could really then make great use of those spaces as we work with large and small groups. I'm also excited to let you know that we are now the proud owners of 24 Kindle Fires. We've made our purchase. That is far larger than a donation from Hannaford, but we were able to look at our resources where they have been inventoried and all the things that Jay Moody needs to do, and they are now waiting for us to move forward with that. And teachers are already beginning to say, well, I have an idea. I think I know how I'd like to use that, and we're really talking about, with that number, we could break them into groups of 6, a class could share them, they could be paired use. I mean, I'm really, as you can tell, pretty excited about moving forward with that. But the light coverage is going to enable us to do those things also, which is
And how many of those Kindles were purchased with the grant from Hannaford?
about half of them, about 12 of them. So
Okay.
we are very thankful to Hannaford for their grant. We'll send them some pictures of kids, some, approved pictures of children that we can do that, but send them that so they can see their grant use, which is really very exciting. And it took us a while to decide what to get, and we decided to get as much access as we can get and really work with that. And teachers automatically volunteered. I'd be happy to learn how to do it. I would love to be able to. So we're excited. So thank you for your support.
One last question. Did any kids put anything on Chuck-a-Puck?
I don't think they did. But at least the pucks were all thrown, and that was probably the most important thing.
Okay. Thank you, Marcia. Any other questions? Okay. Bob?
Even though February was a short month, you can see a lot going on at the high school, beginning with the Scholar Athlete Awards at the Capital Center for the Arts and Conference early in February. We had 24 students go down to that. And then following that, Kent came to announce Peter's election to principal-elect for the next year, so staff was extremely pleased to hear that. We had interviews for St. Paul's summer program. A number of students have applied for that. Both the boys and the girls, Alpine and Nordic ski teams ended up state champions. A couple of individuals in the Nordic events and both boys and girls teams. They're still competing, by the way. They're going to meet champions, and their season's not done. As long as there's snow on the ground, I guess they keep on skiing. So they'll be done probably in a few weeks. The guidance staff took sophomores over to Hewitt Tech. You had asked about that earlier in the year, when that was going to happen. And the tours happened this past month. And then a whole range of activities from energetic Joan Forge for Winter Carnival. I mean, that was extremely successful. We've been starting with the Winter Carnival dance previous Friday and then going all next week with activities going on. I wanted to get back to the third paragraph in the report, and that deals with the cell phone policy, which we said we'd come back to you with some data on. And Peter's prepared to give you some feedback on that tonight, so we're looking for further decision on that from you folks. So, Peter, go ahead. It's okay to do it now? I'm assuming you're going to have a question on that, so.
Well, we have it under policy.
Do you want to wait?
I think it'd be better to keep on moving, because we have to do it under approving the policy anyway.
We can certainly wait wherever it's appropriate.
Okay.
I'd be glad to answer any questions in the report.
Any questions for Bob? I understand that the girls' team went in state championship in downhill skiing was particularly impressive because there were only 4 girls and all 4 of them made 4 clean runs in giant slalom and slalom, which is
absolutely
really
almost unheard of.
Amazing, yeah.
There were teams there with 10 to 15 girls,
right?
And our 4 girls beat those teams up.
Especially there was a girl that was couldn't ski because of a death in the family, so the number 5 skier stepped up and did the best she ever did in life.
That's right. The pressure was on.
That's particularly impressive. I mean, it's unheard of to have 4 skiers making 4 clean runs each. Exactly. It just doesn't happen.
Exactly.
That's very impressive.
It was. I was there watching that day. It's really good.
Anything else for Bob? Okay, thank you. So we'll move on. We have no correspondence. Okay, so we'll move on to old business, which is policy review, and so we'll get fairly quickly into the cell phone policy once we go over the first reading. So Sue, do you want to handle that?
Sure. Before you tonight, we have several policies for their first reading, and they are GCKA, instructional staff assignments and transfers. The second one is IHAS, safety and instruction. We have IHASS, which is study and reference skills. IHBAP for procedure. Those are requirements for the development and operation programs for students with educational disabilities. IKAW, weighted grading scales. And the last one for first reading is IKFLA, adult education credits. So again, all of these are being presented tonight for first reading. They will be going to GEA for their input. If you have any concerns or recommendations, we just ask that you get them back to Kent before our next meeting, which I didn't write down from.
It's an early Tuesday morning in a couple of weeks.
It's in a couple weeks.
Now, these are all
Karen,
existing
you got that one?
policies.
Pardon?
These are all existing policies, and since I don't see any changes, there
There were no changes.
changes
This
to,
was,
okay, pretty easy.
this section
Group of
was the
policies.
fastest policy review
Okay,
we did, just this section.
okay.
The next section.
But also, an awful lot of them are very short policies too, one sentence. So. Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so now we'll move on to the position on the petition warrant
No,
articles.
we have more. We have
No,
more.
I've got
five more
policy.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, the second reading of, I'm out
You
of
used to
order.
have policy in two places. I'm putting it in one.
Okay, right, so now we have
So-
this, right, now we have the second reading, so go ahead, Sue.
So tonight for the board's approval are three policies. We'll start with JICJ, which is the unauthorized communications device, and I'll defer to Peter on this one.
Well, we had, as you know, we had the 2-week trial period. We felt it went very well. Last Thursday, we met with our team leaders, and beforehand, we asked them to get feedback from each of the members of the department about how they felt from their point of view that the trial went, and they felt it went well as well. I had about infractions, which was, quite honestly, a dozen more than I had the previous 2 weeks, and which was some concern for the students, probably because what was happening before was that the teachers would, if it happened during their class, they would take care of it. They would confiscate the cell phone. They would report it to my secretary, who would then put it in the books, and if it was their second offense, then she would let me know. What's happening now, though, is that by doing this, we have a more consistent approach for the staff is out to deal with the infraction that happens during the class. And thus, we have the dozen infractions. Students receive 2-hour detention for those. They're not happy about that part of it because it falls in the morning. And we heard that immediately after I met with this student body, explained to them how this is going to work. That was the first feedback. Initially, we were saying, why 2 hours? I said, why one? I explained to them, we're giving them, a leash here, and so we don't want you to. So what it has also done is, as staff members have used their phones more, not their phones, the students' phones for lessons during the classes. And some of the things I asked for some feedback on that as well. You've heard some already before, some newer ones. The foreign language teachers and English teachers have been using this app called Quizlet, which has been a big hit for them and the students. One of the teachers mentioned that one of my students said that he even used it at a gun stock while taking a break from skiing, which I thought was kind of cool. Quizlet one there. And Mr. Ridden's business class, his students will use the cell phones to conduct business. They will call, he does these Steve-O subs where he goes out and he sells subs to the locals and to local businesses. So he does a business ethics with them. He does a training on how to make a business phone call, and the students will do that in class together. And we'll call the businesses right there from the classroom using the cell phone. For yearbook ads. And for yearbook as well, the students will contact potential businesses to buy ads for a yearbook. And he does those times too, with the permission, of course, from the person calling, to put it on speakerphone so that everybody can hear how it's going with how to conduct themselves during the business phone call. A couple of the other ones that I thought were kind of interesting were social studies. They're using this app called, it's on their cell phones, polleverywhere.com, when they were students would vote on such things as what's going on in Iran, their favorites. But she's examples here, the favorite Enlightenment philosopher, and early American presidents, which was kind of cool for them to use. Another English teacher said they've been using the Merriam-Webster dictionary app on their phones to help improve the language skills when they're doing the written science. And what this does is, the whole reason why we wanted to do this is that now that if the teacher says, all right, let's pull this Merriam Dictionary Webster out and we'll start using that, show you how to use it. Students knowing that they can use it at the end of class in the hallway now will be less likely to, I'm going to take a break and do this and text my friends or whatever during class time. So that is our hope, that this will cut down on that during class and they can use these the way that we'd like them to use them. And I know there's been a great increase in students asking permission to, can I go ahead and put my assignment in my phone now? And as we have, these whole lives on these phones, and the kids have too. So we thought it went well, and the team leader, speaking for the departments, have voted to continue this.
A cafeteria survey today?
Yeah, well, Kent had to be there for lunch here. Not what I did not expect was we don't see a great change in the CAF. Looked around as we were eating lunch and saw one kid texting, another kid was on the phone, but generally, and I'll walk down the hallway in between classes and a student will see me and they'll immediately just have a reflex, put the phone away. So, you can use that now, that's fine. So we went well.
How have the teachers been working the issue of, because clearly not all the students are going to have smartphones.
They will group them into, I know one social teacher groups them into fours.
Okay.
And like with Mr. Reardon, he does the kid put on speakerphone. We'll do it that way. And it's a start. It will get bigger as teachers get more comfortable using it.
They're making sure no one gets left out. Right. And it's really key that kids don't feel isolated.
And
it's always.
I remember when we first discussed this, there were statistics on how many kids had smartphones. Do you remember what that? I think it was about 25% or
54%.
54%.
Yeah.
With smartphones?
Smartphones.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. How did I thought?
Over 80% with phones. With 8 devices.
Okay. Any idea how that breaks out, Droid versus
No.
iPhone?
I don't think that is.
2 iPhones here.
So that's what we have. I guess it's up to you folks.
Okay.
So I think because of the sensitivity of these 3 that we're going to vote on tonight, I think we should maybe, just to get it moving, I'll make a motion just specifically for approval of JICJ.
I'll second it.
Okay. And the key change is that is only allowed for academic purposes at Guilford High School with the prior consent of the teacher and/or the administration. That's really the key change.
Instructional change.
Right.
That's correct.
Okay.
But the other key change on the other side of that is it does allow for student use during lunches and passing.
Right.
And teachers to for this.
Yes.
Okay.
Unanimous or
We did
60-40?
Oh no, I wouldn't say it's not unanimous. I'd say
It's always
97%.
It's difficult
Well
for us
over.
to sit here at the table.
I asked for a show of hands, it was well over 9.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's probably 2 or 3 who did everything.
There's always a Luddite in the crowd.
The other one I just want to share because I thought it was kind of cool. Mr. Homer uses, he's our engineering teacher, and what the kids do, and they will take pictures of their assembly stages and use that as reference to something that was cool as well. As a building, something they'll take pictures, refer to them as.
Well, again, I started this whole thing. To me, it's inevitable. We're in the 21st century. You're not going to pry me away from mine because I've got everything in this is my memory.
Why do you look at me when you're telling me? It's because I'm the one that's technology challenged.
No, I am.
Oh, and when I share the news with the students, I will be sure to add that this doesn't mean this is permanent forever.
Right.
They blow it.
Right.
Just because they succeeded in the trial doesn't mean this is forever.
It gets out of hand.
Peter, could you just give the example of a student that had a detention and why or where were they using the cell phone?
Out of the 12 kids, 10 of them was immediately mea culpa. I blew it. I wasn't thinking. Kind of reaction. Without knowing exactly, half of those were in the library, but they thought they could do it without permission. They just pulled their phones out. No, you can't do that. And these weren't.
So the librarian was the bad person.
And there were signs up.
There were signs up.
Yeah, they ignore the signs. They weren't libraries. They don't cell phones. No, it's just a habit, and like I said, the 10 out of the 12 were like
Establishing new norms.
You got me.
Right.
You got me.
Establishing new norms.
Exactly.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. We have a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the revised policy JICJ, unauthorized communication devices, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, we have 2 more for second reading. IGE, parental objection to specific course material, and KEC, reconsideration of instructional materials. And I just want to confirm that GEA has in fact gotten back to you on it? Okay, so I'll make a motion we approve those 2 policies.
Second.
I have a question. On the bottom of IGE, it says first reading 3/5/12, it says second reading 4/2/12.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to 4.
That's a typo.
Yeah, okay.
This is
We
the
did
second
have this in
reading.
February.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the second
Right,
reading.
but it isn't
Sorry.
book yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dates are right.
Just trying to push your way past that big snowstorm.
Remember, this one came out of the change in state law,
Right.
Yeah.
and we discussed that last month. So this is the, well, we don't have to go over it again, but it is a required policy by law.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion to approve policy IGE, parental objections to specific course material, and policy KEC, reconsideration of instructional materials, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so now, I got my act together. Now we're moving on to position on petition warrant articles, and this is an action. We have a letter, news release, okay, that states our position on the 9 petition warrant articles. And we need to decide if we agree to have that released to the press. Do we need to publicly go over these positions again?
Clear.
Or for the benefit of the audience?
This is your realm now,
Okay.
of your position. And I think this reflects the comments that you had shared, and
Okay. Well, just
this is
for,
your realm.
okay, well, just to summarize, there are 9 warrant articles that will be on the ballot a week from Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, I guess. And 5 of them are warrant articles that the school board brought forward. Article 2 is the budget, okay, which is a 1.3 reduction from last year. Number 3, Article 3 is the teacher contract.
Where's the reconsideration?
Forces reconsideration.
Right, which basically means that if Article 3 is defeated, it gives us the ability to hold a special meeting to go back and relook at the teacher contract. And then Article 5 is the motion sensors in the middle school and high school gymnasiums.
Yep.
Okay. And the school board recommends all of those articles. Okay. There are 6 petition warrant articles that the school board unanimously does not recommend. Article 7 has, well, actually, we don't have everyone written in this article.
No, we're missing 8.
We're missing 6.
If you'd like that in there, then we'll include those. But that's
Okay, Article 6 is the, is that the?
Requiring none.
That's requiring the non-administrative contract.
Require non-union employee contracts to be approved by the voters.
Okay, so that's not, we don't have that in this release here. We do have Article 7, which is the calculation of the default budget, moving that from the school district to the budget committee. And again, the board unanimously does not support this for, the key reason is that if this article was passed, then the control of the budget process would be transferred to one single entity. Okay.
No check and balance.
And there'd be no checks and balances. Okay. As it is right now, the school board and the municipal budget committee work together to come up with a budget that is agreeable to both the budget committee and the school board.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I can make one comment.
Yeah.
It is the budget committee's budget that is brought forward at the deliberative sessions.
Right.
And I think in the years past, I think we've supported the budget committee's recommendation and adjusted our budget to fit their budget. So.
Right. Okay.
And changing the meeting date is the
Number
one
9.
that's missing.
Right. That would be Article 9 was the changing the meeting date from March to May, and we have stated our rationale for that. One of the main problems is that we can't actually start the hiring process for new employees until after the budget's been approved. If we wait until May, that puts us way behind the power curve to hire the best new employees because all the other school districts will be starting in March to do that. Okay. Article 8 is a 0% tax cap, and there's a lot of reasons why we do not recommend this, because it basically allows for no increases regardless of whether they are under our control or not. Things like reductions in state aid, increases in special education costs, increases in health insurance, dental insurance, heating oil, maintenance costs, capital projects. And so, again, we unanimously do not recommend that either. I guess the question is so this particular press release does not give any of our rationales for Article 6.
4, 5, 6, and 9.
Right.
If you'd like statements added to that, I can
I think we should. I think we should be
have those to you and have you approve.
I know you were trying to get it short and sweet, but I'm not sure if that is the best course. I think it's better to be.
Mention on each of the articles.
I think it have them.
That's what we'll do.
I've already had somebody who's who can't be here election day ask me to explain something to him already because of the way the wording is. And this is a position, so I think we should
Have that for you in the morning.
Okay, so I guess we have, yes, Paul.
I just have a point of clarification. On the proposed 0% tax cap, it's been my understanding that can be changed at the deliberative session if that were to pass. But it's also my understanding that it's at no more than a 10% increase. So it's not like if the budget was, if we had a major issue or something, it can be added to, but no more than 10% of the proposed budget.
That's an SB2 regulation.
That's correct, Father. The 10% rule at the deliberative session still would apply.
So if we had a catastrophic event that required major renovations to one of our buildings.
Well, I guess an example, if the budget committee's recommended budget was cut $10 million,
I just $4
million. You could only raise, at the floor, the legislative body at the floor could only recommend a 10% maximum increase to that.
So as an example, if it was a $24 million budget and the budget committee recommended a $20 million, we could only raise that $2 million.
2.4. That's correct.
Well, from what their budget was, from the
That's
recommended
from
budget.
the proposed budget.
So although it can be changed, there's still a ceiling on what you'd be able to do.
Okay, so I guess we don't really need to vote on this. I think we have a consensus that we would like to see more. Okay? Everybody agree with that? Okay. So, I guess we can move on to new budget. We have an action item on the high school graduation date.
Mr. Patterson, high school graduation?
Yes, we recommend June 9th. This is the date we'd like to set at this point, and make sure that arrangements are made with Meadowbrook for that event. Saturday, June 10th.
Bob, unofficially is the last day of school, the 8th.
Say again.
The seniors. The last day of
For
school.
seniors.
The seniors, okay. So, snow day wouldn't impact that, or?
If we get to,
We're within the number of days.
if we get to 3 or 4, then we might have to, as we.
Okay, so
We're okay.
We're okay.
We're in great shape.
Yep.
Compared to past years.
She can't put the weekend after, because they already have
Exactly.
Knock on wood. Okay, can I get a motion?
So moved. That we adopt June 9th as graduation day.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of setting the high school graduation date for Saturday, the 9th of June, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. Kent?
Yep.
Talk about the Guilford Drug and Alcohol Task Force ordinance endorsement.
Want to thank Devil Liberty from the high school and Chief Keenan from the Guilford Police for being here with us this evening from this part of the agenda. What you have before you in your packet is a proposed ordinance for the town to consider that we're asking for the school board's endorsement of. This comes from the city of Franklin, where it had been adopted by the city council. Give you a little background of getting in there. Also in your packet, you have a letter that came home from Mr. Pedersen and Mrs. Liberty regarding concerns we have in the community for the recent arrival of a number of types of synthetic marijuana. If you've seen reports in the paper in the area of arrests and overdoses and some pretty serious concerns about this somewhat legal substance being sold in our community. We've addressed this through professional development with the students, with the staff, as well as with sessions in the students as the whole class and advisories. So we guess the ultimate goal this evening is to have your endorsement of this ordinance. But I guess I'd like to ask Mr. Liberty, Mr. Sawyer, Mr. Pedersen, Chief Keenan to weigh in on where we stand on the issue.
Representing the Guilford Drug and Alcohol Task Force, we've been working with the school on addressing this issue because it really is, even though, you know, we have our students at our school, this is a community-wide concern. Our students have used this at the town library, this synthetic marijuana, as well as coming into school under the influence as well. This is a very proactive step. What we hope to do is, because synthetic marijuana is legal right now, it is sold as a potpourri in many shops. It says not for human consumption, but the students know that that's just a legality. And so they're using the substance. So what we'd like to do is have the community with the school, the selectmen are presently on board with that, the Guilford Police Department is on board, really wrap our entire, our powerhouse of people around this to say we don't want this in our community, and I think that would send a strong message. Kevin?
I agree with that. I had a meeting for a couple hours with the town administrator before coming here tonight on this, where he has spoken with the city of Franklin as well. The issue that we're having is with town council and generating the authority that the town will have to adopt an ordinance on controlling this. The town council is not sure if the town has the authority to adopt such an ordinance. So that's where our hang-up is now on getting this before the Board of Selectmen to get their endorsement for a town ordinance. This is a growing problem. What's happening with the synthetic marijuana is the DEA will get it on the schedule. All the drugs are scheduled, and one of the examples is, one of the products is called K2. It will have ABC in it for chemicals today. Those will hit the schedule through the DEA. The company will change it, the name to K3, they'll have AB, they'll leave out C and put D in for chemical, so now it no longer falls on the schedule, continuing to make it legal to sell for the non-human consumption and things along those lines there. So the control is very difficult for us that way. So the town ordinance was a thought process to be able to get it to control it, because we are seeing an increased use of this by the kids in the community. Franklin has not had to test the ordinance as of yet. They haven't seen the use like we have in town here. So we're in a little bubble, I guess to say, which is not necessarily a good thing for us, because we're seeing a lot of this with our kids. The school's seeing it a lot more. My guys on the street are seeing it with stops, with finding it on kids and stuff like that. So that's our proactive approach, is to try to do that. It's just the legality if we can come up with the power for the town to adopt the ordinance. It might be an approach for the board to add it to the student handbook as far as banning it on school grounds or things along those lines, which would give the administration some teeth, because now it's not illegal to have, and there's no rule in the school. They can walk around with it in the school and things like that. So going that way would at least give the school something until we can overcome the legal hurdle that we have on our end.
Whether it be by policy or recommended ordinance, I guess that's what we're looking for, is the endorsement of the board to pursue this and to bring this to the town's attention.
Can I just share two things? I recently attended a training session. The number of poison control calls in regards to this type of drug in 2010 was a little over 400. In 2011, it was over 4,000. Now that covers Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. The other thing too is that the more that we see this in our emergency departments, and articles are, I just finished another article today about it. I mean, people are doing things like they think that they have bugs, or they're seeing things on their skin. I read an article today where a gentleman actually chewed off part of his arm. That's the side effects that these drugs will give to people. They see things that aren't there, they hear things that aren't there, they respond to those hallucinations, and then they end up much sicker than just the addiction to the drug.
It sounds to me like we actually have two separate actions here. I mean, one action that I think would be fairly easy is just to put a policy in place in the student handbook that forbids the possession or use of these drugs.
Yes, we don't have that for you yet.
Right. But I don't think that's
an easy one.
That's an easy one. Do you want an action from the board to pursue that?
We need to pursue it, sure, but we don't need that action. We can bring that. We can bring that to you anyway.
And then
the action is
the second action is whether or not the school board would support a municipal ordinance similar to what we have in our packet.
Because the municipal ordinance prevents the sale of it in the community.
Right. Okay. And you were saying that the Board of Selectmen support this?
So we've talked to them about it, and the policy is upstairs with the town administrator. It's just getting over the hurdle of establishing the legal authority for the board to adopt this ordinance. They're in support of trying to help solve this problem in town. It's just finding what gives the board the legal authority to do it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the adoption of an ordinance, because I think it sends a message. It's a community problem. You know, everyone looks to the school, but we really need to look outside as well and work together to resolve it.
So, okay, and just to clarify the motion is it's not necessarily
to adopt a municipal.
Yeah, it's not necessarily. It's not necessarily this what we see in front of it. It's whatever the Board of Selectmen come up with.
Yes, what we can get through that would have teeth and legal standing.
It gives us that opportunity to come to the selectmen and represent the board's position.
Right.
Once again, as the administration representing the board's position.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I wholeheartedly second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
Excuse me. We're voting to essentially support the selectmen if they bring an ordinance forward.
To prohibit the sale of any of these substances in Guilford.
sale in possession. At least that's what's in this
I guess what I'm trying to say is, we're supporting this, in other words, if the selectmen come forward with something, because that's the selectmen's responsibility, not the board's responsibility.
Correct.
We, as a board, are supporting the selectmen in their decision.
That's the motion.
Okay.
That's the motion. And is that clear to everybody? And that was your intent with the motion?
I just want to make sure that was...
Okay. So I think we have some clarity on that. Any further discussion? Okay, so all in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Ray, do you want to discuss this topic some more?
I think that we're making a step by doing this and hoping that the press will put this out. I think that will address the concern that you and I have discussed.
Okay, so you don't want to discuss any further
I think that
enforcement type issues at the in any of the district schools?
Well, I think that we should, continue to let the school resource officers do their job. And, they find somebody in possession of something illegal, then we should let them do what needs to be done because, I don't care who you are. If you're caught with something illegal, you need to be upheld to the law.
Would the drug sniffing dogs alert to these substances? Do you know?
Some are actively being trained now for that. It is a different chemical makeup, so currently it's a work in progress, I guess is the best way to go about doing it. Was speaking with my canine handler just the other day. There are a couple that work with him on the Working Dog Foundation that are actively training for that certification. But it's new to us in the law enforcement field. It's establishing a certification that, again, will stand up to the test in the court of law, that the dog's indicating properly. So that process is being worked on in conjunction with many other things on the federal level and state levels to try to control this product, or these many products that are out there. So right now, potentially, if we were to come to the school, we might have 1 or 2 dogs that could alert on this. If that answers your question.
Okay. So I guess I'll ask one question, and this is to Kent, to anybody. So what else can we do beyond what we're currently doing, and not just for this specific problem, but for marijuana, prescription drugs, anything else? What else can we do?
Well, there is the Community Drug and Alcohol Task Force. And Deb, Kevin?
The sad things that I hear is, through Deb and through our SROs, they had a community informational night for parents, and we had 3 parents show up. So getting the word out, and that we had a training with the fire department that Ray was at last week, and working and dealing with this every day, I picked up several things that I didn't know with this stuff and what happens with it. So it's a constant learning curve, and to put something out and have 3 parents show up with something that we know is a concern in the community is discouraging from our standpoints of trying to get the information out. So
Peter, in response to that, we go ahead, made presentations to the parents when we had them.
Correct.
Go ahead, give a little bit more on that, please.
Made the sophomore night?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. During the guidance department does these nights for each of the classes. Parents are going to talk about their academic future. And this past one, back in February, the sophomores came in, and because of all this, they decided to add in, and Debbie read for that, they added in a component about the K2. Very informative, and the parents that were there learned a lot. That figure out a wider audience. We at the school, I know it's not a controlled substance, but as far as I know, you have to be 18 years old to purchase this. Kids tell me themselves. So I have just my kids in possession of it myself. It'd be just like if they were selling cigarettes, it'd be the same type of activity. So
at this would be
right. We like to get it. We help.
Deborah, you can add something?
Well, you asked, what can you do? The Guilford Drug and Alcohol Task Force has been struggling with years to bring a community awareness to these issues of underage binge drinking and alcohol, general alcohol use by minors, as well as this drug, the drug issues. And over the years, there's been little turnout. But what we're seeing now, hopefully, is a shift. The task force went before the town selectmen. They endorsed putting the youth risk behavior survey results on the town website, because we're really trying to push it away from the school's responsibility and make it a community responsibility. So we have the selectmen's support, more so than in years past. We have your endorsement for this. We have the task force getting ready to work with the Army National Guard Counter-Drug Task Force to do a strategic plan for our community. There have been certain groups looking at our survey results and what is going on with our youth and our police results. And we are a community in crisis, and there are groups wanting to come in to try and support our efforts to help solve this. So I think we're moving in the right direction. A lot of different people are doing different things at different levels, but by bringing the school board into the process with the task force, with the police department, and as Ray pointed out, we were working with the fire department the other day. I think this all is moving in a very positive way.
And absolutely, it's a community problem, and so this is all appropriate. But I'll still come back to the question I just posed. And clearly, the school can't solve the problem. But is there anything more we can do in the schools right now to at least solve the problem in the schools? That's my question.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks. Deb was able to get Sergeant Lane. Sergeant Lane came in on, what was that? What was the date? During one of our advisory periods, and he and I went on the air during advisory, and we talked about, on camera in front of the student body, about this specific problem. And he shared with the students, what the stuff's made of, why it's become popular, and what are the side effects. And that was well received. What was even better was that Sergeant Lane stuck around for our lunches, and he went from table to table on lunches, and his feedback from us was that the kids asked a lot of great questions, and so getting the word out to our student body about the dangers of this, educating them as to what was something to do. That was very helpful.
Ray, you wanted to?
My suggestion would be, we've done this in the past, but put a different twist on it. Now's the time to start planning. The 1st to the middle of May, we used to call it prom night.
Called what?
Prom night. But what we do is we simulate, with the fire department, we simulate a motor vehicle crash. But instead of having one student, we need to have a couple, 2 or 3 actual dead students that get put in the body bags and they get taken away. And you need to have one student that's not only maybe appears to be impaired, but you need to tie the drug thing into it, whether they're pretending to smoke something or whatever. And you need to get the whole school student body out there to see this. I have heard from students, I've heard from parents, it makes an impact. The Emergency Nurses Association does something very similar throughout the country this time of year for the alcohol problem. I expect they'll probably start doing something with the drug thing, but now's the time to start planning that, to get all of the classes to see that. Because I will tell you, you see one of your friends get carried away in a body bag, that makes a lasting impression.
We can take that to a task force and discuss that in our committee and what our next steps will be.
And I will be more than willing to help set it all up.
But again, I absolutely agree. There's a community problem. The community has to handle it, but we also need to be doing as much as we possibly can in the schools, and maybe start the education process as early as possible. I don't think it's too early to start talking to elementary students about these issues. Marcia?
I would totally agree with you on that, that the resiliency issues for children are, way younger than high school, where the high school often bears the brunt of it. We have been approached, which many of you may already know, The middle school youth risk behavior survey has never been administered here. I've never been involved in administering it in my administrative experience, but we are really looking at the value of adding that data from grades 7 and 8 only, not in grades 5 and 6, but to collect that data. And I think that that's something that we should move forward with, because that would add some more background to what has been pretty consistently poor risk data for a period of many years. So we're going to continue to look at that, and I think that it would be wise if we were to organize that and then administrate in grade 7 and 8, and then that data could be added.
Meg Jenkins is looking into trainings at this point too. She's investigated, this issue is nationwide, it's not just localized. And she's investigated and found some trainings available and is making tentative plans to invite training to happen here rather than her having to travel somewhere. So we're looking into that aspect as well, because a lot of it is detection. And the first echelon, is to have the nurse take a look and evaluate. And we have to have nurses that are trained to do that, what to look for, and then what to do next, and those steps. So that's one more prong that we're looking at this point too.
Well, I think it's also important to take every opportunity when you have the parents as a captive audience to hammer this point. And some people may question if it's appropriate, when you've got guidance counselors, talking about the kids' academic futures, whether it's appropriate to be talking about drugs. I think it absolutely is, because the drugs can absolutely negatively impact their academic performance. So I really think we need to be as aggressive as we can be to try to get the parents' attention. I mean, it is discouraging when only 3 or 4 parents show up for an information like that. That's not good.
And that was after a mass emailing directly to parents.
So we'll find other channels and other avenues.
Right. Okay, any further discussion on this topic?
The only thing I would add is, right now the school is trying to educate the students. They're all obviously holding the line with punishment for them. They've sent the message out to students as well through the guidance department. If you are struggling with addiction, we have the resources for you. So I think the educational component is good. I think what might be coming down next for the school to explore are evidence-based practices that we can begin perhaps at the middle school. I know that we have DARE, but there are other programs out there that we might be bringing before you as a board that you might want to consider. So that's something just a little proactive as well.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Serious problem we definitely got to pay attention to. Okay.
Croc TV.